I got an email the other day by someone. It wasn't an angry email. It wasn't hate. It was just inquiry. Why are you citing polling, given your own admission that polling has kind of been farcical of late? Well, the key is to figure out who are the good pollsters and who are the bad pollsters, and read the underlying data within the polling. In large part, live operator telephone polling that includes mobile phones still got 2022 pretty good. The problem was that the mass of polls that were out there in 2022 were online polls or polls that undercounted mobile numbers. There were a lot of robo-polls. The Trafalgar polling actually is what threw off most of the polling. If you deleted the Trafalgar polling nationwide, you suddenly would have seen 2022, a clearer picture of 2022. You and I wouldn't have believed it based on our sense of what was actually happening, but it turned out that the Trafalgar polling and a lot of the other Republican robo-polling out there produced a lot of polls that gave Republicans more confidence than they should have had and skewed the picture of what was happening on the ground. You got rid of those bad polls, you would have seen a more accurate snapshot. The polling in 2022 was only as bad as a lot of the Republican pollster robo-polling. There are bad polls out there, though. And the reason I'm talking about polling today is actually because of a bad poll that is encouraging Democrats. And so maybe we should be encouraged by the bad polling being circulated out there. This in particular is a poll from USA Today Ipsos. The USA Today Ipsos polling shows that 56% of those surveyed say the term woke means, quote, to be informed, educated on, and aware of social issues. That includes not only 3/4 of Democrats, but also more than a third of Republicans. 39% say instead the word reflects what has become the GOP political definition, to be overtly political, overly political, politically correct, and police others' words. 56% of Republicans have that view. Now, this is the conclusion. The findings raise questions about whether Republican campaign promises to ban policies at schools and workplaces they denounce as woke could boost a contender in the party's primaries, but put them at odds with broader public opinion in the general election. Independents by 5145 say woke means being aware of social injustice, not being overly politically correct. Most Americans understand that to be woke is to be tuned into injustices around us. But for a key segment of Republicans who make up the Trump-DeSantis base, woke is a clear trigger for the worst of the politically correct emerging multicultural majority. That's Cliff Young of Ipsos. Now, who is the emerging multicultural majority? I personally think that's actually contrary to what the pollsters think, the Republicans, when you look at the shift of Hispanic voters, Asian voters, black voters. But get this. This is why I dwell on this poll. USA Today has this entire thing. The left is trotting this out today to say, look, Ron DeSantis, the Republicans, they're overplaying their hands. Most Americans actually believe that woke means fighting social injustice. Now, question, does it actually mean that, or is the actual person answering the polling actually just giving the pollster the answer of this is what woke is supposed to mean to the left? I actually think it's the other, but this is what the left means. These sorts of polls are bad polls. They're not good polls. It is easy. The more accurate polls are who do you support, DeSantis, Trump, whoever, and you still get wild swings with that. These sorts of polls of asking Americans these public policy questions are never quite that accurate. And when you, on top of that, are asking about woke and people fear getting canceled, it's a bigger question of whether or not they're accurate. And yet so much of the left today is excited about this poll. But let me read you the methodology of the poll. I'm sorry. I saw this morning after getting this poll in, after reading it, and I was just gobsmacked by the methodology that people are actually embracing this poll as if it's some big thing. Listen to this. The survey was conducted using Knowledge Panel. And you're like, well, what the heck is Knowledge Panel? Well, it is the largest and most well-established online probability-based panel that is representative of the adult U.S. population. Our recruitment process employs a scientifically developed, address-based sampling methodology using the latest delivery sequence files of the U.S. Postal Service, a database with full coverage of all delivery points in the U.S. households invited to join the panel are randomly selected from all available households in the U.S. Persons in the sampled households are invited to join and participate in the panel. Those selected who do not already have internet access are provided a tablet or internet connection at no cost to the panel member. Those who join the panel and who are selected to participate in a survey are sent a unique password-protected login used to complete surveys online. In other words, it's not a random sample. It's not a random sample. It's people who they select based on a post office file, who, if they don't have a computer, are given a tablet, who then are given a push notification, we have a poll you want to participate in, and then they got to go actively participate in it. Really, this is where they get their data from, and then they weight it according to age, race, ethnicity, education, census, region, metropolitan. This is where they actually get their data. Wow. If the Democrats want to run with this, I say let them. If the Democrats want to run with an online poll from USA Today Ipsos, let them and see what actually happens. And the reason I say that is, does your observation really, now I realize we're all biased, and I know most of my audience leans conservative, but in your real day-to-day reactions, what do you really think? What do you think? Here's the tell. Here's the tell. Chris Rock has a special out on Netflix right now. He goes after the wokes. The wokes are the punchline in part of his one of his bits. And everybody laughs. Neal Brennan is another comedian with a Netflix special. Netflix is really getting into stand-up comedy to segment themselves from HBO Max and Apple TV Plus and the like. Neal Brennan was the co-creator of The Chappelle Show. He's got a segment that's on the wokes. They're the butt of jokes. Dave Chappelle has an entire stand-up that is almost entirely ridiculing and blasting the wokes. Andrew Santino has a new one on Netflix called Cheeseburger. He blasts the wokes. Bill Burr, probably the second most famous comedian in America right now beyond Dave Chappelle, has a stand-up routine on Netflix. Blasts the wokes. These are major comedians. Some of them you may know, some of you don't know. Probably everybody knows Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock and probably Bill Burr. The others maybe not so much. And these are major comedians, all of whom lean to the left, who are vilifying and ridiculing the wokes. Bill Maher on HBO every week now on Real Time blasts the wokes. You can't tell me when liberal comedians are using the wokes as a punchline that this isn't a ripe target for the GOP. I don't care what the USA Today Ipsos online poll of people who volunteer to take the poll, who are solicited in a rather non-randomized pool of people. I don't care what they tell me. The real world evidence is the genius of top comedians is they find the things everybody is laughing at privately and they do it publicly. That's one of the geniuses of comedy. You find the stuff people are saying in private that they don't want to say in public, and you get on stage and you say it in public and everybody laughs. And they're laughing about the wokes. And now a pivot here. Pivoting is going to be a theme today. Rui Teixeira, I think I'm saying his name right, is big data analyst for the Democrats, and he's been warning them they have problems. In fact, he thought 2022 was going to go pretty poorly for him until the end. And he called that maybe it wouldn't be so bad, that a lot of independent voters were concerned about January 6th. So one of my frustrations with Tucker Carlson isn't so much the video he's showing, it's that a lot of voters are ready to move on, and pulling the Republicans back into these arguments actually hurt them. But nonetheless, Tierra has this piece, "The Democrats' Coming Asian Voter Problem Has Arrived." He writes, "In January 2022, I wrote a piece called 'The Democrats' Coming Asian Voter Problems.' I said the following: the Democrats' problems with Hispanic voters are at this point well known and well documented. But what of Asian voters, the other fast-growing part of the non-white population? A close look at voting trends suggests that here, too, a problem could be emerging." That's what he wrote. And then this, even in 2020, there were signs of defection in congressional races in California and in other local races. Like Hispanics, Asian voters were concerned about public safety and rejected demands to defund the police. Asian voters in California, New York, and Virginia were also upset by the Democrats' support for aggressive affirmative action policies that would be at their expense, since in gifted and talented high schools and in top-tier colleges, they were enrolled at percentages well above their percentage in the population and would be harmed by the imposition of the kind of quota system Democrats supported. Well, it turns out that in a detailed analysis of Asian voters shifting, it turns out Eastern Asians, that is Korea, those that touch the Pacific, Vietnam, China, Taiwan, the Philippines, Korea, Japanese, they're shifting rapidly towards the right. Why are they shifting rapidly towards the right? Because of crime and education. Because, I dare say, the wokes. The wokes that people say in the USA Today poll is actually some good thing about social injustice. Actually, Hispanic voters and Asian voters are shifting to the GOP in reaction to the wokes. They don't want their kids punished by woke ideology. Because Asian middle-class and upper-middle-class families tend to have lower divorce rates, have more nuclear families, have more family support structure, and push their kids harder, their kids do better in school. They get ahead in standardized tests. They get disproportionately high admissions into high-standard colleges in the Ivy League. And the result is that the academic wokes at these schools are punishing the Asian kids and trying to suppress their numbers in school. They're disadvantaging them. They get into honors programs in magnet schools, and now the left is shutting down honors programs in magnet schools to punish the Asian American community, all because of wokeism, intersectional justice. And the Asian voters from countries that touch the Pacific in particular are reacting by voting Republican. They do not feel safe. The left went all intersectional and woke on anti-Asian hate and crime, and it turns out it is woke Democrats who are the greatest inflictors of violence on the Asian American community. And the Asian American population is responding by voting Republican. USA Today Ipsos tells us that most Americans think woke is a good thing. Most Americans believe it's about fighting social injustice. The actual real-world data, the way people actually vote, suggests USA Today Ipsos has it wrong, voters have it right, and they are mad as hell about woke intersectional politics on the left these days, and that only helps Republicans.